Whether I have an official role or not is irrelevant to the security needs that I would need. Let me rephrase that. Whether I have an official role or not is irrelevant to the threats, risks, and impact on the reputation of the UK if something was to happen. And again, that is proven by all of the examples that exist out there. So for me, having an official role was conditional on keeping security. But for everybody else, people who have chosen this life to enter into public office and then leave, get it for life, regardless of whether they have risk or threat to their name. And by the way, I agree with that. I think that is absolutely the right thing to do. That if you come in and you serve your country, even if it's a minimum of 4 years, that you get the protection that you require because of your public service. I was born into this position. It wasn't a choice. I've served my country for 35 years. I believe that I am still continuing to serve my country. Public service is my life. That is the dedication that will never change. And then all the other bits and pieces that are added to that. There are very, very real threats that exist out there. Some that are known about, some that have been withheld. And for people in power and responsibility of decisions to know that those threats and risks exist, but to turn around and say, well, because you don't have an official role, your life doesn't actually matter anymore. Well, you can imagine how I feel about that, but you can also imagine, not even imagine, that is the most illogical argument in the history of arguments.
And finally, just because you mentioned, your connection to your country, your public service, after this years-long battle, do you think your relationship has changed with the UK? Do you feel let down by your country?
That's a big question. At this point, I'm feeling very let down. It's the minority of people, especially those that read the tabloids and the press themselves. The press themselves have incited so much hatred towards myself, my wife, and even our children. That's hard to forgive. There are decisions that have been made. There are things that have happened since 2016, especially throughout my whole life. But let's just stick since 2016. There are things that have happened that I can now forgive. I've moved past that. I can forgive my family's involvement, my father's, my brother, and my stepmother. I can forgive the press to a large extent as well for so many things that have happened. What I'm struggling to forgive, and what I will probably always struggle to forgive, is that a decision that was made in 2020 that affects my every single day, and that is knowingly putting me and my family in harm's way. Everybody knew that they were putting us at risk in 2020, and they hoped that me knowing that risk would force us to come back. But then when you realize that that didn't work, do you not want to just keep us safe? Whether you're the government, whether you're the royal household, whether you're my dad, my family, despite all of our differences, do you not want to just ensure our safety? And I'm calling for, the Home Secretary and the government to do a review of RAVEC. And I'm also asking for an R&B assessment that I haven't received since 2019.
Just because you spoke there about forgiveness.
I own 78 properties at the age of 31 years old. My name is Eddie Delane.
Eddie Delane.
Eddie Delane. Eddie Delane.
Eddie Delane.
Eddie Delane.
When I was working at McDonald's, struggling to make ends meet,
It sounds like the last step to repairing relations with your family is the security issue, by what you said there.
100%. Whatever noise has been created, whatever stories have been written, this has always been the sticking point. And put yourself in my shoes. If you step back to try to create a different role, the same official role, but a different working relationship with the institution that you were born into, for the sake of your wife and your own mental health and your child, which now, of course, a lot more has come out because I felt as though it needed to come out. the other side of the story needed to be told. God forbid anything should happen. And I don't regret that at all. But 2020, when that decision happened, I couldn't believe it. I actually couldn't believe it. I thought with all the disagreements and all of the chaos that's happening, the one thing that I could rely on is my family keeping me safe. And not only did they decide to remove my security in the UK, but they also signaled to every single government around the world not to protect us.
How are you feeling about this decision? Because clearly you have 2 children, Archie, Lilibet. They're not able to see their grandfather, their uncle, their cousins in a way that you feel is safe for them. So what's your feelings kind of moving forward? Is there any way that this could be resolved?
The only, I mean, firstly, I'm devastated. Not so much as devastated as with the loss that I am about the people behind the decision, feeling as though this is okay. You know, is it a win for them? Is it a win that, you know, that I don't get the protection that the threats and risks and impact say that I should? I would hope they wouldn't consider it a win. And I'm sure there's some people out there, probably the most likely the people that wish me harm, consider this a huge win. But, you know, there have been so many disagreements, differences between me and some of my family. This current situation that has been ongoing for 5 years with regard to human life and safety is the sticking point. It is the only thing that's left. Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book. Of course, they will never forgive me for lots of things. But, you know, there is. I would love reconciliation with my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. You know, he won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. As I learned through the First Nations throughout Canada, because of the Invictus Games, their goal in life was always truth and reconciliation. And I turned around to them in many conversations and I said, right, but reconciliation can't come without truth. Well, I've now found out the truth. I've shared some of it with you today. A lot of it exists out there, whether people choose to ignore it or not. You know, so it would be nice to have that reconciliation part now. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
And now that this court battle is over, do you feel you will be able to approach your father and speak about some of those issues?
I mean, no, I don't think he would ever want to talk about it. I think he would just push it aside, and the argument will continue to be this is a government decision. It may well be a government decision, but how did they reach that decision? You know, when the Rabbit Chair, the first place that they went to was the palace to understand what it is that the royal household and what the royal family want for me. I have never ever been allowed or offered to make my own representations. Not in 2020 and not for the last 5 years. And the new Ravet Chair continues to avoid answering some very specific questions that I have. And one of your previous questions that I think is really important is this case-by-case basis. For me, and only me, there has to be a royal obligation in order to receive protection on UK soil. And I think that speaks volumes.
Hello everyone, welcome to MzansiOz Diary. My name is Connie. If you're new here, you're very much welcome. And today I want to talk about this BBC interview, Prince Harry BBC interview. This is part 3 of my reaction to it. And this is my final reaction to this interview. I wasn't really sure I'd make this video at first, but after watching Harry speak, and I felt something, and I think what I felt is what many of my friends said they felt too, a deep sense of sadness and a sense of how can we help? You know what I mean? How can we help, provide some help in this case? Yeah, this final video really is not about analyzing the headline or court ruling. I don't like analyzing these headlines, because sometimes when you bring about this headline in reaction to other people, you kind of bring along this type of hate, outrage for hate kind of commentary. So I wanted to really talk about emotions, because watching Harry, hearing him say, the other side have won, keeping me unsafe. That didn't feel like a political statement to me. It felt like, he was a man sharing a raw human truth, raw feelings about how he felt. And as someone who cares about justice and other people, I couldn't ignore the sadness that comes with that statement. And I felt sadness for Harry as a son who lost his mother, sadness for Megan, who has had to live with the threats of isolation, and a sadness for Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, innocent children born into a world where even family can become a source of fear. Yeah. Like many of you, I also felt helpless because no matter how much public support Harry receives, the people in power, the palace, Bravek, the UK government, they keep making decisions that put him at risk. And so in that moment, I understood why so many feel like history is repeating itself. And we remember what happened to Princess Diana. She too was silenced. Her security was taken away. And when she needed protection the most, that institution turned its back. And that's why the public fear today is not just an exaggeration, really. It's a fear informed by painful past, the fear that you can learn by looking backwards. Hindsight gives us a good lesson. While the royal family, they're out there presenting that image of stability and unity, in reality, many of us see it as people who are controlling, punishing the people who don't want to be part of that institution. And also the family that actually failing to protect their own member. And the family that could even interfere with the government institution. So it seems like it is an institution that prioritizes how people look at them over the safety of those who are challenged, over the safety of those who needs protection, over the safety of those who challenge the very institution. Yet in all of this sadness and helplessness, there's something powerful. Harry has public support. People around the world have stood with Harry and Meghan and his family. Even when the courts denied them, the public did not. And Harry's decision to speak out, to say that the other side, I've lost the court case, but the other side have won, keeping me unsafe, it is, to me, is an act of resilience. It reminds us all that silence protects power, but truth challenges. The truth challenges the power. But when you're silent, you're protecting the power. And truth, once spoken, can't be taken back. So what can we take from this is that whether you're a public figure or a private person, the lesson is the same. Stand up when you can. Speak your truth when you must speak the truth. Even if the system tries to silence you, remember, you are not alone. So today, we may not have the power to change the court decisions or family dynamics, but we keep the conversation alive. We can hold the powerful accountable in the court of public opinion. And most importantly, we can show that resilience, courage, and solidarity matter. So yes, I really felt sadness watching Harry's interview, but I also felt hope after. Because when people speak out and when others listen, that's how change begins. Not just for royalty, for everyone who's ever felt they've been silenced and unsafe. So thank you for staying with me in this 3-part journey. If this resonated with you, please comment below and share your thoughts. And remember, public voices do make differences. They really do. They do.
The experiences you have when you're growing up, both good and bad, shape the biology of your brain. And so these early experiences literally have a major impact on your physical health, your mental health, your social health, and really every aspect of our society is impacted by developmental experiences, and particularly developmental experiences that are toxic, traumatic.
Okay, so the bottom line is it's what happened to you as a child shaped the way you actually viewed the world, and your world view determined your personal view of yourself. And that is why you either grow up with a sense of worthiness or not, based on what your surroundings are. That's what I hear you saying.
Exactly. And I think people intuitively understand that your life experiences influence who you are. But what I don't think they connect with is that those experiences literally change the biology of your body, particularly the biology of your brain.
That's what we did not realize.
Dr. Bruce Perry, the trauma expert and the author of The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. In his book, he said, trauma that occurs in childhood often resurfaces in adulthood when similar threats or losses appear. Speaking out becomes not just advocacy, it becomes survival. Prince Harry's powerful statement, "They won't keeping me unsafe," is more than just a comment on a court ruling. It's a reflection of deeper unresolved trauma from childhood. When we talk about Prince Harry's sadness, his frustration, and even his anger, we must also talk about trauma, specifically childhood trauma. At the age of 12, Harry lost his mother in a tragedy that the whole world watched. Harry is not just fighting a legal battle. He is fighting to heal the 12-year-old boy inside him who watched his mother die because others failed to protect her. And perhaps this is why so many people, especially survivors of trauma, survivors of bullying or family rejection, relate to Harry or other human being. They see in Harry not just a prince, but a human being still trying to make sense of the loss, of the betrayal, and a lifelong quest for safety and belonging. In that sense, Harry's story is not just about royalty, it's about how childhood trauma can shape who we become, how we fight for ourselves, and how even decades later we can choose to break the cycle of silence and neglect. So it's not just about royalty, it's about resilience, it's about survival, and it's about human being and a humanity, the need to feel protected, the need to be able to protect people we love, people we care for, and that human need to protect what we love when the system failed to protect us. And that's it. It's really sad story. So comment below, guys, and really what do you think about this story, and be respectful as well, and see you guys. See you next time. Bye.